Hey guys, I'm Julian, and this is different than what I normally have because I'm not home right now. I'm actually on vacation, which means that I'm not doing schoolwork and I have more time to fly. So I've brought a bunch of my stuff with me, but I put out a video about how to set up a slider function on your DX6i, and I got a little bit of feedback from that on RC groups, and one of the big things that people pointed out was that even with reducing servo travel on the uprate, or even with reducing the maximum endpoint on the uprate, you still can go over on the when you're actually scrolling using the scroll selector. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to do a follow-up video sort of explaining and redoing the process with setting up a foolproof solution so that you don't have to really pay attention to how much you're scrolling and you still have a guaranteed way not to overdrive the servo. So let's get started. Okay, so we're basically going to do what we did last time, which is we're going to start out by turning on the radio. And I've got my neck strap off right now just so that there's no obstructions in the screen. So what I advised you guys to do last time was to go into the flat mix, and I'll actually do that. And I'd advise you to set this at 98 or 99% maximum up. And that was to prevent you from overdriving the linear servo that all of the micros use. And I went over linear servos in my previous video, and there's a lot of information on RC groups, so I'm not going to go over it right now. But you guys can go back to my earlier video, and I explained why linear servos, and you want to make sure that you don't overdrive them. But anyway, I'd advise you guys to do this, which works fine when you're at the up position and you're all well and good. But then I'd advise you guys to come down here and just scroll madly in one direction or the other, and you could hit 100, and that was the maximum endpoint, and you could potentially overdrive your servo that way. And that was the main thing that someone had pointed out as a big issue, because there's no way to limit endpoints within the flat mix. And so if I'd advise you guys to just scroll like mad to either end of the spectrum, you could hit an endpoint and overdrive your servo and, be stuck with a flap problem in flight. Which would either have you pay more attention to the screen and what you're scrolling than it would to what you're flying, which isn't only hazardous for the aircraft and flying, but also because you're at risk of overdriving the servo. And so what I wanted to show you guys was, and this is, you should probably change it if you did it the way that I showed you guys earlier, but you can set up a master setting. You can go into the master adjust setting, which is travel adjust. And in travel adjust, you have the maximum endpoints, which is the master list, for every single servo function that you have set up on the radio. So for ailerons, throttle, elevator, etc., etc. But flaps, you can see that right now maximum points are set at 100%. So why not, for the master setting, just set them down to, let's say, 98% either way. And so now, when you go to your flap setting, 100 on here is only 100% of that 98% that's dialed in on the master setting, which is the travel adjust. And so now if I go and scroll madly either way, I'm only going to 98% of full travel every time that I hit 100. And so there's no risk of overdriving the servo just by scrolling and using this as a slider. So if you have it set up the way that I showed you before, you probably want to change it to the way that I just did. And if you're interested in setting up your DX6i with a slider-like function for flaps, please check out my earlier video, which is on my channel. So I'll see you guys in the next one, and happy flying. Bye for now.